Hi Curlies, it's Lana, and this video is about how I beat death, both mentally and physically. I'm going to share some techniques with you, some tips, and I hope you find them helpful, especially if you're in a situation where you're overcoming trauma, illness, or even if you're just down in the dumps, okay? So let's get started. In January of 2001, I was in a nearly fatal accident. No, it wasn't a car accident. I was actually standing on stage at my school when a stage prop, which was this solid wooden arch, 100 pounds, just fell, hit me from behind, slammed me into the ground so hard that my head had left this indent into the wood. You know, someone had told me while I was laying on the ground in fetal position, you know, to lift my head up and put it on this pillow so I could be more comfortable, and I told them no. And the ER doctors basically said, had I listened to the advice of that person, I would have been paralyzed like Christopher Reeves. That's how bad it was. Basically, you know how your bones and your neck kind of go down like that? One of my bones was tilted out to the side and had this crack in the middle. You know, the doctors brought out the MRIs, the x-rays, everything. They had circled where the break was, and they'd actually had Children's Hospital. They had the medevac come to pick me up so Children's could operate on me. But, you know, a miracle happened that clearly, you know, it's a miracle. Nobody can explain it. But my mom, you know, she got on the phone. She called every single person she knew, all my family. All my family called all their friends called all their family and friends, and before you know it, I basically had the whole state of North Carolina, because that's where the majority of my family is from, praying for me. It's something that they call the prayer line, and which you know, they went back afterwards to take more MRIs for Children's Hospital, and the break was gone. It had just disappeared, and the doctor came back and he said, I don't know how to explain this, but, you know, the break was clearly there, and now it's not. And my mom just said, you know, well, we've been praying, and he was like, I know. And that was basically all there was to it. The recovery process was so long. I mean, it could have been longer, but when you're in the 9th grade, when you're that young, you know, 2 weeks seems like a long time. And, you know, my accident happened in January, and I didn't go back to school, you know, until the following school year. Basically, I had severe trauma to my head, minor brain damage, you know, severe trauma to my neck, severe trauma to my back. Something had exploded in my eye. Luckily, my vision was still there. I guess nerves had died in my teeth because I had to have root canals in my teeth, and also I had this blood clot in my eye that would not go away. I think it's called like a hematoma or something like that. But anyway, it would not go away for months and months and months. So finally, you know, it was causing a perpetual black eye, and it was super painful. So the doctors had to actually go in through my jaw and, you know, basically clean out the blood clot. And what they do, it's so gross. It's basically like a rubber tube. Half of it was sticking in my mouth, half of it was sticking out, and the blood would drain through it. And for like 2 days, I had to lay in bed and drink my own blood. It was disgusting and horrific. But I came through, and I came through this experience. You know, it's so cliche to say, you know, better than, you know, I'm better than I was before it, because, you know, I was still a child. But in a way, when traumatic things happen to you, you have a choice. You know, you have a choice to decide, how am I going to let this impact my life? And I decided to take advantage of it. You know, am I the same Lana that I was before? No. There are significant chunks of my life that I just do not remember, but I've learned to overcome, and I've learned to get through it, and I've learned to make my disabilities the new normal for me, so that, to the point where, you know, I'm blessed enough so that, yes, there is kind of like a daily reminder that my brain doesn't function like it used to, but at the same time, I've learned to work with it. So here are some techniques that I used when I was on bed rest to help see myself through. Technique number 1, rituals. Now, I know they do rituals in prison. It's kind of the same concept. You stick to a routine every single day, and it basically helps you pass the time with patience. So for me, my routine was get up in the morning. Now, mind you, I kind of don't remember it perfectly for reasons I just discussed, but basically it was, I get up in the morning, I eat breakfast, I watch Regis and Kelly, I go to the doctors, I come back home, I read really, really, really big, juicy books like Lord of the Rings where you can totally lose yourself in. Like, those are healthy forms of escape books. Totally recommend them. So that was my ritual. Create a ritual of your own. What do you like to do? What are your healthy ways of escape? Knowing yourself, whether it's playing games, board games, cards on the computer, Sims, whatever you like to do, create activities for yourself and do those activities every day, or at least create a schedule for yourself. And that will definitely help you stay healthy mentally, and also, give yourself the patience to recover like you need to physically. The second technique I have is to create a support system. I had a friend, his name was Brandon, and Brandon was a couple years younger than myself when he was diagnosed with bone cancer. And so we were both out of school at the same time, and Brandon was my support system. He knew what it felt like to be in and out of doctors' offices, in and out of hospitals. He knew what it felt like to, not be able to go to school, and so we could relate to each other a lot, and we could keep each other company, and we could keep each other motivated. For days that I felt really, really negative about my situation, I wanted to shut myself up in the world. Brandon was that support system and reminded me why it was important to just keep living day by day, keep living, and to choose positive energy. Have a support system. If you don't know anyone in your area who's going through anything similar or who's never been through anything similar, the internet is a great place for meetups. And I'm sure that if you Google, you can find some really respectable places, online communities of people who are helping to, see each other through whatever they're going through. So just know that you are not alone, and being alone in these kind of circumstances it's not healthy. So find a support network, and guess what? Build them into your routine and share what you're doing with them. And that's how you make it through, and that's how you recover. I will say, Brandon, when I finally was able to go back to school, it wasn't much later before Brandon passed. And I am so grateful for his life, because his life changed my life. And whatever purpose, he was supposed to serve in this world, he touched so many people along the way, and it was his choice to remain positive and his choice to always be receptive of love and to give love. And he died with such a peace, and to an extent in which I'm not really afraid of death anymore, because I saw him pass with such peace. I feel like I'm able to kind of approach it in a similar way. But I am so grateful for his life, and he really, really taught me how to just muscle through. So thank you, Brandon, for that. And my third tip is, like I've been talking to you, with this Brandon situation, it's choose to be positive. And if you can't be positive, choose to at least remain neutral and do whatever you have to do to keep at least in a neutral space, energy-wise. It is so easy when you're going through trauma and when you're going through illness to just shut yourself away from the world, close the blinds, get into your bed, hide. It is so easy to do that, but let me tell you, that's not the way you recover. That is not the way you beat death in that moment, both physically and mentally. You're just burying yourself into the ground. Open those blinds, create the rituals for yourself that make you happy, and choose to at least stay neutral. If you can't be happy that day, fine, but at least stay neutral. And when you're neutral, you'll see that it's like your hands are open to at least give to others and to receive the compassion that they want to give to you. But when you're in a negative space and you have all that negative energy going on and you go outside, nobody's gonna be giving anything to you because your hands are closed, you're closed. You know, people are gonna respond to you the way you're reflecting, you know, on your face, the way your body image is, you know, is programmed. That's what people are gonna reflect back to you. So at least stay neutral. Try to find some joy. And I'm telling you, people, the universe, life will show you that love in return. And that love is what you need to really overcome, you know, those mental and those physical challenges and the recovery process. So many positive things have really happened in my life as a result of my accident. I mean, it just, you know, I left that school, went to a different school, and because of that, you know, things lined up. Things just from the fact that the other school didn't want to put me in AP classes. This school let me take as many AP classes that I wanted. I scored really high on my test. I came into college with all these college credits. I got all of these scholarships based on my academic performance. And then I was able to study abroad for a year in Cairo, which changed my life, which got me into this fellowship, which got me this opportunity, and that opportunity turned into that opportunity. I mean, so many wonderful things happened as a result, but that's also because I choose to give that meaning to my experience. I chose, and I continue to choose to give that meaning to my experience. All meanings that we give to our experiences are choices. So I choose to give that positive meaning to my experience. And I hope you choose to give positive meaning even to your most negative experiences as well. It really does help a lot. So please share with me your stories. Share with me your stories of illness and recovery. How do you make it through day by day, whether on days you're just feeling sad, or whether it is because you're trying to overcome disability or illness? How do you get through? And if you have any questions for me, I would love, love, love to answer them, because I feel like I survived. I survived. And my biggest joy in life would be to turn around and to help somebody survive that too. So I hope this helps somebody out there. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.